Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're in episode 35, take 2.
Take 2.
Take 2. What just happened?
Yeah, well, that was my fault. So,
No. I'm not here to lay blame, but give you context here. This episode is dropping in 3 hours, right? Something like that?
Yeah, it's dropping today. We usually record like several days ahead of when we release. This one we're recording same day. We got about half hour into our podcast, and I realized I forgot to hit the record button.
It's okay.
That's a fail of the week.
No. I didn't bring it up for that reason. I'm just bringing it up because this is just going to be a more polished episode.
Yeah, hopefully.
At least the first half hour.
Well, but that is assuming we would be able to like actually have that same conversation, which was really good.
Yeah, don't say that, because now everybody out there is going to be like, what did we miss out on?
Oh, yeah, you'll never know. I mean, we'll do our best to, I don't want to say recreate. We'll talk about the same things, but yeah, it's going to be a bummer because, it's not as fresh.
No, but we want to let you guys know, like, it's kind of like in reselling or anything else. Sometimes you have those moments where you just got to reset.
Got to reset.
You got to reset.
It's good.
Right?
Yeah.
And you got to stay positive and you got to stay motivated because, we're kind of in a little time crunch right now. Self-imposed, but
yeah, we want to make sure that you get the content that we promise to get to you on a timely manner and
on every Wednesday. So if you're new to us and this is the first time you listen to our podcast or recently, because we've been getting questions, when's the next episode dropping? We drop episodes every Wednesday. So, and we try to drop them as early as possible. Obviously, today's episode will probably drop later in the afternoon. Right? I hope
That's
so.
Right, yeah.
And we try to drop with the YouTube and Anchor and Spotify and iTunes all at about the same time. So just, keep watch.
Yeah. And thank you so much. If you've been listening to our show, we really appreciate all of your support. And I can't believe we're on episode 35.
35. And we hit 1K on YouTube subscribers.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
No, seriously, we are so great. I mean, when we hit that 1,000, we're like, I can't believe this.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is one of those things that, we didn't talk about this in the other...
We didn't.
In the classified file. But think about it, Mike. I honestly thought we were just going to be like in a basement somewhere talking to ourselves, and maybe we'd get like 20 people listening. But, it's been awesome knowing that there's thousands of listens a week and YouTube subscribers. It's been great. So thank you guys. We are so humbled and grateful.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
All right, so
let's catch up.
Okay,
How have things been for you?
Things have been good. It's kind of, I'm in this weird space because actually, during the previous recording, my tax preparer called me and I looked over and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I got to meet. And so what's been good is I've actually we didn't talk about this last time, so this is good. I actually have been good about my bookkeeping. I'm not done yet, but I'm still catching up, and I'm so thankful for having a program like GoDaddy Bookkeeping. Just because all I had to do, I forgot that there was, this is the big forgot, that one credit card I hadn't fully synced into the system. And once I did, I categorized all that spending. And then again, I was able to have other deductions like cost of goods and shipping and all that. So been catching up on that because that's one of the things I remember last episode I had talked about I wanted to get done. Now, just aside from, what we were going to work on from last time was I had major fears having to buy a new car. My car died.
It's a sadder thing than I think people realize. Like that car was like Old Faithful, man. Like,
it was. I had it for 4 or 5 years. I can't remember, but I made it to 286,000 miles. Which was nice. And I wanted it to get to 300K, but it didn't make it. But that changed the reselling game, right? Remember how many times did I pull up with a car full of stuff? I mean, it was nice.
Like completely full. And I ended up selling, I had a small little Mazda 3, and we got rid of it. And now I drive the 4Runner that we had. My wife got a Subaru. And I don't think I could go back to like a sedan or a hatchback just because I need the space. Like, it's important. And you liked your Honda Pilot so much that you got another one, right?
And I got an older one that's boxier just because I like the space that I get out of the boxier model. So
hey, maybe that's something. Let us know. What is your reselling vehicle? What modifications to your vehicle do you make?
Modifications?
Yeah.
Like, you take an import and modify. Anyways, all right. Well, okay. So here's the story. So and this is not part of our random story segment, but I was concerned because this was the first time I was trying to buy a car as a full-time reseller. Like, it was a little scary because, they asked me like, what do you do for a living? Right. And so on the paper, I wrote e-commerce. Right. And I'm like, like this is kind of weird. Like,
didn't we decide on professional treasure hunter?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if that would have worked on. Okay. But here's what I learned. So I did make sure I had everything. So part of the bookkeeping was recognizing that bookkeeping wasn't just important for taxes, but it was important. It's kind of like I think Portland Pickers on Instagram said this. It's kind of like your resume when you go in for a loan, right, to get pre-approved. And so I had my tax returns. I had my profit loss data from GoDaddy Bookkeeping. I had everything ready to go. But you know what was the winner? And not saying this to brag or anything, but credit score.
It's huge, man.
Like I remember I had talked about this a few podcasts ago where my credit score died because of Toys R Us. Well, not because of Toys R Us. It was my fault. But, in June of last year, I had made all these major purchases and I waited till Q4 to sell that stuff. And so I didn't make all that money back and pay off that balance, and that balance carried, and my credit score kept tanking.
So you went into debt because of Toys R Us?
Yes.
Like, do you get the irony there? Like, Toys R Us closed because of its debt.
No, I know. But, I'm thankful. And here's the thing. Toys R Us is supposedly coming back again. This is probably like the fourth news cycle about this.
This time, is it for real? Like, they're really coming back?
I don't know. It's look for real. I went to their website and they're talking about opening smaller stores, and they want to make like a more interactive environment in their store.
Huh. Like a discovery museum.
Something. It'd be cool. Think about it. It'd be like a free theme park for your kids. If it's
that would be genius. Yeah, if they had like tables set up where kids could actually play with the toys before they bought them, like their sample toys out, and they could just run around and play with toys. And then they'd be like, "Mom, I need this toy."
Yeah, see, and then genius. Toys R Us could sponsor us, and there we go. It would work.
This because we came up with that idea.
That idea right there. That right, we'll sell it. Anyways, okay, moving on. But anyways, the irony about this Toys R Us thing is, think about it. Like, it closed, and a lot of people did well off of it, and now they're Toys R Us trying to rebrand themselves. There's a part of me that thinks there's just conspiracy here. Do you see conspiracy here?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd call it conspiracy, but I feel like businesses do a lot of shady stuff, and I don't even know if shady is the right thing, but they know how to manipulate the system too. And there's ways, I feel like, for taxing or various things to be able to file bankruptcy, liquidate, and then still use the branding, which is really the most valuable thing they own, right? And restart and basically get a fresh start and kind of dump off like mistakes they've made in the past, start over, and either under a different company, different investors, different parent company, who knows? But it happens all the time. That's what makes a lot of businessmen really, really wealthy is they buy up companies that are failing, liquidate all the stuff, and then kind of revamp it. And then now they've got, this company they bought at pennies at the dollar.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting because I'm like, how many times are we going to hear this, right? There were supposed to be stores in November. That never happened. And then there was supposed to be Jeffrey's Toy Box, and now there's a new news story that it's happening soon. So if there's anything, they're definitely very, very skilled at creating like anticipation.
Yeah, some hype.
All right, so going back to this, so it was kind of strange. It was, I'm there and I'm applying for this loan, and in the end, it was just like, you go to Amazon, you get auto approved to be ungated. It was the same thing, like instantly approved. Like, I had the paperwork, but they didn't really ask for the paperwork, and I was happy. I will tell you, because I was really concerned. Like, how am I going to explain away my profits? I do have it all on paper, but I don't know. I think maybe it's because the economy is doing really well. I think entrepreneurship is really popular right now. So I'm sure I'm not the only person that didn't have like a 9-to-5 job coming in trying to get approved.
Yeah,
or not alone.
I think cars specifically are very much credit based. I know housing is very, very different. There's so many restrictions on that. Cars, I feel like it's a little bit easier. Even people who don't have jobs, kids can come in and almost with no credit can sometimes get car. It makes me think of, and I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but I watched a I watched, I don't know, some TV shows years and years ago. I was in like the break room at work and it was on. And I remember I could not stop laughing. And it was Sinbad. You remember Sinbad?
Yeah.
Okay. So Sinbad is sitting and he's got his son with him and he's at a car dealer and he's like picking out a car for his son. And the dealer like leaves and he's like, all right, we're going to go run your credit. And so then Sinbad looks at the camera and this is like a documentary, like they're following him around and this is like real life. This is really
this
him.
is legit.
This isn't
not like a sitcom.
No, it's not a sitcom. This is him like talking about his life. It's like a Cribs type show, but different because it's like a where are they now type of thing. Anyway, so he looks at the camera and he's like, my credit's terrible. Like they're not going to approve me, right? And so the guy comes back in and they, sure enough, like all the stuff on the paperwork's blurred out, but like, they're like, so we don't really like, your credit's like really bad. Like we can't approve, for this car. And so Sinbad looks at him and goes, what if I just gave you cash for it? And the guy's like, I mean, yeah, if you've got cash. So Sinbad pulls out this duffel bag and literally takes out like 3 bags, like see-through poly bags and just drops cash on the table. And he goes, there. I don't need a credit score. And then the guy's like, okay. And then, so then he's looking at the camera later on. He goes, I could have just wrote a check, but it wouldn't have the same emotional impact as dropping the cash on the table.
You know what? But don't you want to do that as a reseller? Like, here's my profit.
Yep,
Boom.
yep.
But
here we go. Cash.
And that was also a struggle. Like I wanted to keep capital. Like I didn't want to spend capital. I mean, I did spend some capital on the car because it's an official business expense. It's a business vehicle. But that's a great story. So anyway, so if you're out there, I think one of the things that isn't discussed a lot in the reselling community is credit score. And it's huge. And I know, especially in the FBA world, there's a lot of use of credit cards, but you got to make sure you pay off those balances every month because it definitely will help. And what helped me was, my credit score, it didn't tank, but it definitely went, it went down about 200 points. And paying all that off during Q4 and waiting about a month for things to settle rebounded it all back. So just something to think about, like credit is still king. Your credit score is still king. And I think it's going to be even more important if we end up in a recession. So it's just something to think about. So what about you? What's been going on with you?
Things have been okay. I mean, I remember last episode I had
you were kind of down about not sourcing, not listing.
I had the Dreary Wearies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a little book that I read with my son.
The Dreary Wearies.
Fish, and he's spreading the Dreary Wearies all. Yeah. So it's been good. It's been an interesting couple of weeks or a month, I feel like, in San Diego because we'll go all week long with no rain and it like everything looks great. And then forecast Friday night is rain Saturday morning.
Oh, I know. It was like 38 degrees and raining this past Saturday.
It was crazy.
Which in San Diego, that's a big deal.
It's huge. And so obviously nobody's going to be outside doing garage sales. And that's what I live for. I guess I shouldn't say I live for, but my favorite part of reselling is garage sales. Thrift stores, they're fun. Retail arbitrage, not super exciting for me. Garage sales is the excitement. That's the rush. That's the adrenaline rush for me. And I just haven't been able to go for a while. So I've been bummed about that. But we did buy another one of those boxes of clothes returns from, some big box stores. And it's been good. Like being able to be listing items again and not have to worry about sourcing and just have those items, be listing them and getting those sales on eBay. So. Okay.
So give me context because I know you bought, was it like 4 months ago? You did the same thing, right?
Yeah, like 4 or 5 months ago, I bought a box of 100 clothing items.
Okay.
And they were all either customer returns or shelf pulls. And so the hardest part was they all had like clearance stickers on them. And I'm trying to get all those clearance stickers off because I want to take a picture of like the price and what it was really worth before, it says $5.99 for clearance because it's like been clearance 20 times before it actually gets pulled from the shelf. So this time we just went through and cut those cut the clearance all the way off that part. But so we haven't sold all of the items from that first box, but we're getting close to the break-even point.
Okay.
And so that has given us the courage that we needed to say like, okay, we're going to break even on this box. And over the next year or 2 years or 3 years, the rest of the items from this box will sell.
Okay.
And it's all going to be a profit. So we're like, we can either wait until they all sell and then have enough money from them to buy another box, or we just invest in another one. right? And we keep this going where if every month or two we get another of these boxes that come in, and if it takes, let's say, 5 to 6 months for that box to get to the break-even point, and then another year or two before you net all the profit off of it, hey, if you're doing that every month, that pipeline builds pretty quickly. And before long, the total revenue coming in is going to far surpass what the cost of a new box is for a month.
Okay. No, and it's interesting that you say that because somebody had DM me on Instagram, like, do I buy whole trucks? Right. And I'm not at that level. And there's a part of me, as much as, you know, I like the convenience, I do like getting out there too. You know, I think if I didn't have the ability to get out there, I think I would just not want to be a reseller anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's huge. There's
like a two-way, right?
Yeah, no, it's super important because honestly, like sourcing is the part that's kind of life-giving for me. My wife doesn't mind doing the listings and the pictures, so like we're a good team as far as that goes.
Yeah, but you need her sourcing. She was like your hustle of the week, like
gosh,
in like four. Wow, I can't say podcast. 4 podcast hustle of the week have been your wife.
I know.
You need her out there with you.
She's been crushing it. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we need to switch roles. Like maybe I enjoy sourcing, but she's just better at it than I am.
But she loves the listing part. I mean,
she does.
That's a blessing in itself.
Yeah.
Like,
and I don't
some
even know.
People can't stand.
I don't know if it's so much that she loves it, but she doesn't mind doing it. Whereas like for me to do it, it's like pulling my hair out or pulling
the hair that you don't have.
Yeah, it's the
so your
worst.
Beard out.
I'm just yanking on my beard. Well, I think that's part of human nature, though, right? Like, don't we always? I feel like we tend to put off the things that are really like important or that we should do, and we kind of put those off. And like I'm just thinking for myself. So I'm an English teacher, and I will. When it comes to grading essays, I would rather do anything. I'd rather pick up dog poop in the backyard and scrub toilets inside the house and just do anything else you can think of. Any chore, anything that I would normally not want to do, I would rather do that. So like I'm making excuses and doing all of these things that aren't quite as important just because there's this thing that like I don't enjoy and I don't want to do. And so yeah, listing can be that. But like, have you heard the Don't Eat the Frog thing? I read the book
a while back.
Okay, so this is like super simple, like really easy. Like if I were to teach, like,
are we gonna offend some people by talking about eating frogs?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I hope not. I just,
you know.
I mean, I know there's people who like frog legs, which is cool, but I don't think there's very many people who like will take a full frog and just eat it.
Yeah, I couldn't even do the frog legs.
Yeah,
I've done escargot. That was pretty rough.
Huh? I haven't.
So, anyways, okay, moving on.
So it comes from an old proverb from I'm not 100% sure what the culture was, but the proverb was essentially this: first thing you do in the morning that you should do is eat a frog, or like it might have even been more intense, like eat a hairy frog.
I remember
or something
this.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so the idea behind that proverb is if the first thing you do every day is the hardest thing, the hardest task, like the thing in the day which you don't want to do, you'll put it off. That's the one thing you'll procrastinate all day long. If you do that first, then that breeds like more motivation, right? Like motivation breeds motivation. So you do one task, you get that done. And if it's the hardest task, then the rest of your day, it's easy. You can just thing after thing you can get done and it's not hanging over your head. So I've, been trying to implement that as I've had this kind of down attitude about reselling just because I've been so busy. I start noticing there's some frogs that I haven't been eating. And if I just get that done, then the next task is a little easier to do. And the next task.
So like motivation leads to more motivation.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of like we talked about last week with the quote of the week, which was, it's acceleration that's more important than velocity. So like being on cruise control, even if cruise control where you're at in reselling is good, like if you're making money and if you up it a notch and you kind of accelerate a little bit, that's going to create the momentum and the excitement that you need to take it to the next level.
And I just want to bring that up. Like, even though things haven't been great for you as far as like sourcing and listing over the last few weeks, you still were having sales.
Yep. Yeah. Sales have been good.
Right. Because you're still being active, not as active as you wanted, but you had already built that pipeline. Mm-hmm. And you're not even at 500 listings yet. And you're still, are you saying you're having consistent sales, or is it? No, I'm not saying daily, but like,
yeah, no, it's consistent. We're definitely out in our work area packing several times a week. So yeah, we're selling.
And so if you're new, there's always this idea of like, hey, I bought this and it hasn't sold. And we always want to remind people that you got to build that pipeline. You have to build that inventory. there's two ways to look at it. It's either one is you buy things that are really hot that people are going to want right away, right? So like light of the hype stuff like Supreme or like makeup's a big deal now and stuff like that. Or you have enough inventory that you have, and I would say a diversified inventory where you're reaching to different groups of buyers and you will end up having consistent sales.
Yep.
As long as, you price right and all that good stuff. So, okay, well, that's good. I mean, that's encouraging to hear. Yeah. So I'm
moving in the right direction.
I'm kind of in the same boat because, I remember I had talked about 2 podcasts ago in our update podcast that I had all like this money sitting around. Like I had dual decks and I had business phones, and I decided to finally take action. And what was nice is I had all these business phones and they were ranked really low on Amazon. I packed them, I bubble wrapped them, I sent them out. And they sold within a day of being in the warehouse.
Nice.
Right? So we're talking about...
they were sitting there for a while at your place.
I had $1 to $2K just sitting there, right? That had I taken action, had I eaten that frog, I would have had that income earlier.
Yep.
Which in the end, I'm thankful I did it. So it motivated me that, hey, I need to get after those kind of used electronics that have been sitting around that I haven't sent into the warehouse. Right? Because if you do Amazon, there's 2 things that really can't stand sending in for FBA. One is used electronics because it's a lot of work. You got to test it. You got to clean it. You got to make sure all the parts are there. Then you got to bubble wrap it. Then you got to label it and so on. And then there's apparel. Oh, apparel on Amazon. It's just, you got to make sure it's folded nice. You put it in the poly bag. You seal the poly bag. You got to put a label on it. It's way different than, getting a board game. You scan it. And sometimes, depending if you do the commingling or not, sometimes you got to put a label, sometimes you don't, and you just put it in the box and you send it. It's a lot different world. So, but again, I agree. Like once those items showed up, I was like, I need to do more of this.
Yep.
So 100% agree. See, I've quotes of the week have grown on me a little bit here. Was that your quote of the week? Eat the frog?
Yeah, I think that'll work as my quote of the week. Quote of the week / lesson of the week. Eat the frog. And then the extension of that is if you've got multiple frogs, eat the biggest, baddest, ugliest one first.
Wow. Okay. Yep. So, hey, tell us in the comments below, how have you chosen to eat the frog lately?
Yeah. And I don't know if I actually articulated really well that like the whole point of the frog is that's if you eat a frog, nothing else that happens to you that day is going to be worse than that. Right. It's kind of the idea, right? Like if you eat a frog, the rest of your day, no matter what happens, like at least it's not a frog, right? Like, so eat that frog first because nothing else, the rest of the day is going to be easy. It's all going to be downhill from there.
Okay. Eat that frog.
Eat the frog.
All right. So the other thing was I was talking about setting up a reselling schedule. It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you find it hard?
Just because, in reselling, there's always that deal, right? There's, somebody texts me or I see something on IG or I hear something and I got to drop everything I'm doing. Now, I will say I do have some kind of reselling schedule, and we had talked about in our previous unknown episode that will never air that, I do have some kind of schedule, right? And I don't know if some of you that are full-time do this. Like I source all morning and then in the afternoon is where I pack and I ship before I have to go pick up my kids. Or I end up label on eBay, or sometimes I wait at night and everyone's in bed and I throw on some Netflix and I start listing. But I don't know. I'm struggling going, hey, I'm only going to do eBay sourcing. I'm only going to do Amazon sourcing on this day. It's just tough. So, I mean, and even yourself, like you struggle even part-time doing a schedule, right?
Yeah. No, that's been really tough. I mean, everybody has commitments. It's one of those things where it's easy. As I've gotten older and hopefully matured a little, one of the things I've noticed is it's easy to think that like your situation is unique and that you're the only one that's overworked and don't have time. And as I meet more people and hear their stories, it's like, there's a lot of people dealing with a lot of things and they're taking a lot on. And so, I say that to mean that I think almost all of our listeners in one way or another is going to relate, right? Like you have your own time commitments and time constraints and whether it's family, another job or something. And yeah, it's tough to try and have a schedule. I think it's important to be disciplined and to have some kind of structure so that you're not completely if you're not aiming at anything, you'll never hit it, right? So you got to have something guiding your path. And I think a schedule is a good basic way of doing that, of saying like, okay, Mondays are my picture days, Tuesdays are my sourcing days, Wednesdays, but that doesn't always work in your week. And I think you need to have I think you need to have a target and a goal, but you also need to be flexible enough to know that you can't be so rigid that your whole life breaks if you can't make that happen.
No, I agree, especially in reselling. Like you have to be able to flex. I mean, whether you have to flex on, the market because the market isn't, having the same results, or you have to flex on, eBay changes their policy on something, Amazon, like you definitely got to flex.
I think you got to flex instead of be flexible.
You gotta flex.
Because like I think typically when someone says you're gonna flex on something, it's kind of like, what? Like, well, I don't know. I don't use to flex on something is like,
okay, all right, maybe, okay.
Because you basically just said you need to flex on eBay, and I mean, if you gotta be careful doing that, man.
You gotta be flexible on eBay.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
All right, let's clarify.
Otherwise, you gotta flex on eBay.
All right, give me a random story. Share with me one of your random stories from the week.
Well, I mean, I don't have tons. One that kind of, I don't know how random it is, but it kind of got under my skin a little bit. Went to so Saturday there was rain, so I wasn't able to go to garage selling. So I went to a few thrift stores. My plan was I'm going to go to like 2 or 3 thrift stores. I'll pick up lunch. I'll go home and we'll have a nice day at home for the rest of the Saturday and maybe list some items that I picked up. So I go into the first thrift store and I've spent like 30 to 45 minutes in this thrift store and haven't found anything yet.
Okay.
And
that's the worst.
It's terrible.
I'm surprised you didn't leave.
Well, and that's the thing. So economics teaches something that's called sunk cost, right? Sunk cost is if you've spent money on something and then it doesn't pan out, you can't think of the money you've already spent as something you're losing to like keep going with it. Like, well, I've already paid, $100 for this. It's not working, but I'm going to keep doing it because I've already paid $100. If it's not working, you cut it and you move on to the next thing. Like you can't look back in the past. I think it's the same thing with time. So I've spent 30 minutes there. I spent 45 minutes there. I haven't found anything. So the best thing to do would be, okay, move on to the next store. But I wasn't believing in this idea of sunk costs. And I was thinking like, it'll be wasted. I'll waste that 45 minutes if I don't find something. I've got to leave the store with something. And so I got it in my head. I had to find something. And I finally, after searching and searching and searching, found a button-down Harley shirt.
Oh, they'll still sell well. I mean, there's a market for those still.
It was sharp looking. Like I was looking through racks, looking through stuff. I was like, nothing. And then I find this, and I almost never find Harley. Like you find Harley all the time. I almost never find it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it was like amazing moment.
Like a rain swooner.
Yeah, it just felt so good. And so then I grabbed it. I didn't even look at the price because they had like 3 different tags on 50%. I couldn't remember which color. So I grab it and I'm walking up and I'm looking like, okay, what color tags? And I'm trying to find the tag on the shirt and there's no tag. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to get the 50% off because they're not going to know what color tag it was, but I'll just pay full price for whatever they ask for it. So I go up to the front. I'm ready to leave because I've already wasted all this time. They won't sell it to me.
Oh, you know what? I mean, it's not strange that happened. I mean, that's a common occurrence, but it's so frustrating.
The manager was right there.
I know, but you know how it is.
And the manager said, because I said like, I mean, I was being very polite. I'm very big on like, you get more flies with honey or whatever that saying is. And I was like, hey, like, would you mind just pricing it? Like, I'll let you know, like, just give me the price, like whatever you would sell this for. I'm not asking for a deal, just whatever the price is. And they wouldn't do it. They said, no, we're going to price it, but we won't put it out till tomorrow.
Yeah, but no, I get that. I mean, and it's strange that you say that because, why wouldn't they price it? You know what I mean? Yeah. You have a sense of injustice. Like, come on, like really? Like all you have to do is, even go, would you have been okay if they pulled up eBay and looked up comps?
Yeah, I mean, if they were going to do, I mean, I would say like, give me the price, a fair price, whatever you're going to sell this for, and I'll tell you yes or no. Like, I'm not trying to like. And I get that they're trying to protect themselves, that there's probably people who go in there and they scratch off tags or they rip off tags and then they try and buy stuff for cheaper than it would cost.
Yeah, price switchers. But it's interesting you say that because, on IG, I want to say a few weeks ago, one of our UK listeners, by the way, we're appreciative for all our UK listeners.
Yeah.
I'm just shocked that, we have a few, I mean, maybe more than a few. We have several UK listeners. So thanks for listening to us. And it's so awesome to hear your stories because one of the things that somebody had said, hey, we don't have thrift stores here, but we have charity shops or something to that effect. And the sense I got was that, our thrift stores here seem like they're more for profit than the charity shops that are, across the pond. But my question is, our stores are for profit, but they're not. They're nonprofit. But your story definitely reinforces the fact that these stores are still trying to make a profit, because maybe they're worried that they sold you that one 1940s Harley shirt that they would have missed out on $10,000 or something.
Yeah, but that's crazy though, because if it made it out onto their floor in the first place, then at some point somebody priced it, and if it was like a $10,000 shirt, they're not going to put it on the rack with a, you know what I mean?
I'm being sarcastic.
No, I realize, but like that's what I mean though. It's like, I feel like I'm big on like there's letter of the law and spirit of the law, and I will always follow the letter of the law. Like I'm a big rule follower, but at the same time, it's like, okay, like this rule that you have of not selling items, like you are trying to protect your business from a certain type of fraud that's happening, and I think there's pretty clear ways to tell if that's what I'm trying to do, right? Like if I've got here's 10 items that are
pretty
all
bothered
missing,
by this.
I mean, I guess part of it is the wasted time, and then. There is something where it's almost like they look at you and say like, we don't trust you. I've worked retail before, and I remember people making comments like when you have to check, someone gives you $100 bill and you have to, swipe
Those
it.
never make sense to me.
Where they have to.
Yeah. Like, why do you have to check hundreds? Like hundreds aren't what they used to be. And second.
Well, true. Yeah. But the older ones that you did have to check. I mean, I understand, but people would get mad like, oh, what do you think? I just printed it. And it's like, look, I was told by my boss I have to do this for every 50 or every 100 or whatever it is, right? So it's not like I'm coming off on thinking like, oh, like I'm so mad at them for following their rules. But at the same time, it's like, it's almost like somebody looking at me and saying, sorry, I don't trust you as a customer in my store. I think you're lying to me.
Yeah, maybe, but maybe it's a perspective thing. Like you felt injustice, right? Because they wouldn't sell it to you. They feel injustice because they want to they feel like they restored justice, but not allowing you to walk away with something that might have been able to be worth more later on.
I mean, maybe, but that's what I was like. I would have been fine with them just pricing it. Like I wasn't looking for a deal. I wasn't expecting like, hey, this was probably a blue tag that was half off, so give it to me for half off. I'll pay the non-half off price, but it's fine. I don't want to like harp on that story because it's not that big of a deal.
I know, but I do want to talk about something related to that, because you had mentioned to me, we were in conversation last week, and you had said something to the effect of, I said, hey, you've been sourcing, and you're like, Orlando, it's so hard. Like I go to these stores and like all the shoes are like $20.
Oh. Yeah.
So you've been experiencing a lot of that.
Yeah, no, that's what's really weird to me is like you go into a Goodwill and all of their shoes are between like $15 to $25, and these are not shoes that I would even be able to sell for $20, $25. So nobody's buying these. Like, if they are trying to help the community of people who are coming in who are low income, people who are trying to buy shoes, nobody's paying $25 for just used shoes that are just average used shoes that you can get at Walmart for $20 new. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like they're pandering or selling to resellers. They're not selling to the average clientele.
But I think that's true. And I'm not here as a spokesperson for Goodwill or anything, but I think it's because the intention is to make profits to be able to provide programs for people. Right? Because they need that cash flow, right? Because nonprofits are nonprofit because they don't profit off of people. The money stays self-contained and they help out the community and so on, right? So what I do know about Goodwill is they end up hiring a lot of people that necessarily wouldn't be able to get a job somewhere else for, multiple reasons, but they provide these programs, they provide this training. There's, some Goodwills that a lot of these individuals work in the back and they're given a task that they can complete. And so that's how they help the company. So, and that's what I mean. I think it's perspective. Like trust me, I am not a fan of paying $20 for shoes. Like I did walk into a store the other day and I had approached, a manager and I'm like I basically was like, really? Like, and, they said, well, that's what the costs are and blah, blah, blah. And so I do have a tough time because, some prices are just outrageous.
Well, and I think part of it too, and you mentioned this idea of justice, is this isn't like nationally they're doing this. I feel like there are certain areas.
Oh, I think it's national.
You think so?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Now being on IG, we see it like all the time. Like I see people in Florida, on the East Coast, up in New England, Midwest, everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, maybe to an extent, but it's weird that I can walk into a Goodwill and they're charging $20, $25 for a pair of shoes. And then I walk next door to the Salvation Army that's going to have the same overhead, they're nonprofit, they're doing a lot of similar things. And I walk in there and their shoes are $4 to $5, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's not that like they need to sell it at this price in order to provide the services they're providing, but it almost is like, hey, we can get this out of people in this area, so we're going to.
Yeah, and I think it's a healthy perspective to understand that, in the sense that, if you go into a thrift store and I don't know, we didn't talk about this in our unrecorded session, but I kind of feel like as resellers, I know for myself, I may get this entitlement feeling like you owe me, like you can't charge me this much for this item. But the reality is they're still a business. So I need to go in understanding that they are still trying to make money. And if I come in with that mindset, I'll understand that I have to find that weak spot in that business to make that money.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. I mean, I'm never against businesses doing well for themselves. So this isn't like an us versus them mentality, but I do also think that there's kind of a symbiotic relationship between resellers and thrift stores
100%.
that need to be maintained. And I think there's almost like a power play of like, well, they control the merchandise right now, so we get to control the price, and that's fine. And I'm totally fine playing that game, but
because I think we do the same thing on eBay.
No, we do. Absolutely. Yeah. But realistically, I guess part of me is like, I worry that is that sustainable even for these stores? Like are people who are coming in aren't reselling? Are they looking at this stuff saying, wow, what a great deal on a used item? Are they thinking like these prices are out of control because these are reselling prices? Or, when they see these, like, so if they're not selling to those people and they're only selling to what maybe new resellers who don't know that they're getting gouged and the profit margin isn't there because they're paying $20 on something they're going to sell for $30 on eBay. And by the time they ship it and pay, so I feel like that model lasts for a while, but like, I feel like they can't keep their prices that high forever.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let me give you an example. What stores do you go more Salvation Army or more Goodwill?
I'm moving more and more towards Salvation Armies because Goodwill's are just too expensive.
Well, and that's the beauty of capitalism, right? What it leads is to more innovation.
Right. Yep.
Right. So eventually there's going to be other people that are going to, be innovative about how they run a thrift store, and maybe you'll have another company show up, and eventually it's going to resolve itself. Right. So, again, it's so interesting because I feel like we cycle through this. Right? Like every few months we hear about this. But anyways, yeah, we don't want to belabor the point too much. The key thing I always say that every thrift store has its weak spot. Like I went to a thrift store the other day and I found an item that was $10 that I could flip for over $100 that they never even thought about. Right? It was somebody dropped the ball. Somebody missed it. So, all right, random. Oh, that was your random story.
Yeah. What about you?
Okay. So, mine is kind of related to me purchasing a car, but it's not dealing with the car itself. It's dealing with, this whole idea that, when you go apply for a loan, right, you have to put, how much, you make a month, right? You have to put like your income, right? And luckily it's your gross income because gross always looks a lot better than net. So I wrote on there e-commerce, right? And I kind of struggled with that. And here's the funny thing. So I put that in. You know how it usually goes? I don't know where it goes. It goes to the back somewhere in the dealership, right? And one of the guys from the back comes in and he points to the number and he goes, "Bro, you're killing it." And I'm like, nice. What? Okay. What do you mean? He goes, and he sits down like in the desk across from me. And he goes, "Tell me how you got here."
Huh.
And I'm just like, this is so weird. Like, and I finally realized how difficult it is to explain to someone all the ins and outs of what we do. Right? Because they saw the number and the first thing I told them, I said, "Hey, that's a great number, but there's a lot behind that number." Like I wanted to be very clear with him because I finally understood why there's this kind of like get rich, like selling the dream mentality and reselling. right? Because this guy saw the number and he instantly goes like, wow, this guy's doing really well. And
I'm going to quit my job and do this tomorrow.
No, but that's what he told me. He said, and awesome guy, really nice guy. I mean, legit. And, he goes, man, I've been really, thinking about, I want to do kind of like a side hustle because I want to spend more time with my family.
Did you give him our podcast information?
Yeah, I did. Nice. So, but, this became a half-hour conversation. Like literally the guy that was, there's the other guy that was selling me the car, like, he just like left and it's just me and him talking. And it was interesting because I said, listen, I want to tell you something. If I was a baller right now, like, do you really think I'd be here buying a 2011 Honda Pilot that's used? Right. And he laughed and I go, exact. So first thing I want to tell you is like, I don't have a Lambo. I don't have a Ferrari. I'm not here to get you rich, but let me tell you about this journey. And so, he was really, and he might be listening now. So if you're out there listening, man, hey, appreciate you having this conversation with me.
Welcome to the family.
Because I struggled because, he asked me, how does Amazon work? And then I had to explain like, well, there's private label, there's wholesale, there's retail arbitrage, and then there's the ins and outs of that. And then I slowed down a little bit and I go, let me take you back 5 years and explain to you, I started selling on eBay and then over time picked up Amazon. But, it was there's two things that I got out of that conversation. Number one is that reselling, and we say this all the time, is not easy, right? It's not. I will say, and maybe Mike and I have totally missed it. Maybe it is something that, in 6 months we can go from zero to rich. And we for whatever reason, don't have the aptitude to do that.
Yeah, we're not good enough resellers.
We're not good enough. I mean, there's a part of me that, and maybe that's true. The other part of the conversation I got out of that was that you always got to come in understanding, like when you're explaining to people about what you do, is that you really got to get into the details, because what it can seem like is that you kind of have like this passive income lifestyle. And, you work only a few hours a week and you have all this money flowing in, right? You got to, I think, and we try to do that in the podcast always. We got, real relevant reselling. Like that's what we're about. And, I spent a good half hour and I still didn't get them. I felt like I walked away not doing justice to everything that it takes. But it was awesome because at the same time, I was able to give them hope. Like, hey, listen, you can make this extra side income and you can start somewhere and eventually level it up. And if one day maybe you choose to, be a self-employed entrepreneur that's full-time, you can do it. And so, I did give them the name of our podcast and where our Instagram is. But what was crazy to me was that like somebody actually wanted to listen.
Yeah.
Right? Because he had brought up, he goes, yeah, have you heard about Jungle Scout? And he had told me how some of the stuff he's been doing on Jungle Scout. And, I shared with him tactical arbitrage and all these different like kind of systems to help him in the Amazon and eBay world. And, people out there definitely want to find ways, and this has always been the case, but I think more than ever, I think reselling is coming to a place where, people are seeing the value in it.
Yeah.
So anyway, shout out to you, man. Thanks so much for the great conversation. Thanks. I felt like I was being put on the spot, like in the sense that like, hey, Orlando, this is what you make. Like, I want you to tell me how. Now, maybe he was fishing, but no, I don't think he was.
So what did you put on the application that you did for a living?
E-commerce.
You didn't do professional treasure hunter?
No. Yeah, that would have worked really well. And I was even scared putting e-commerce. But here's the thing. I put in e-commerce and they knew what I was talking about. And here's what was funny. The rest of the time at the dealership was like an ongoing joke. Like, how much is this worth? And how much is this worth? Like, I remember, you've been a dealership and they have those old printers.
Yeah.
Right? Those are still money. And so I'm talking to the guy and I go, yeah, hey, a buddy of mine bought one of those, I think for $40-$50 and they flipped for like 300. He goes, oh, that's cool. And then, they always try to sell you that stuff at the end. Right. And he goes, I know you're a reseller, but would you be interested in buying this?
Don't ever buy any of that stuff.
No, don't.
That is the markup. This is the way I look at it. And I am not, okay. So don't take any of my advice because I'm not a financial expert on anything. So, but
wait, okay. I got to stop us right here.
Did you sell something?
Look at what I got an offer on. Look at the irony.
Oh man.
No, look at the irony of it though.
Harley button down.
The Harley. You can't see it on camera, but
are you just trying to make me mad now that I wasn't able to pick it up?
How does that happen? And it's a good offer. Like, I'm selling the shirt for $55 and they offer me $45 and I'm going to accept. But how does that happen? Like, this could have happened earlier.
Yeah, it's just because, you know, I'm supposed to feel terrible because I wasn't able to buy my Harley button down. It's messed up. All that being said, buy Harley button downs when you can, and don't buy any of those extra things. Because if it was financially worth it for you to buy all of the things, then the company would be losing money, right? All of the extra add-ons, the extra warranties. Yep. I look at it as gambling. They're the house. They know the odds are in their favor. They're selling you a warranty that the extreme odds are in the favor that you'll never be able to use or get your money's worth.
We're giving like car buying advice right now. But you know, I will tell you, that happened to me. I bought a Honda CR-V, I want to say 12 years ago. And I bought it, I think it had like 60,000 miles. It didn't have a lot of miles. And it's always that last guy. It's the last guy. And those of you that work at car dealerships, you might be that last guy. And he sold me on the warranty.
Oof. That's where they make all the commission at, man.
And I paid $30 extra a month for 5 years to get that warranty. And you know how much I use that warranty?
Probably never.
Never.
And even if you did use it, that's part of the thing that you don't really think about is they say you've got the warranty, but you still have a deductible that you have to pay. And only if it goes over a certain amount does the warranty cover it. And there's all of these other hidden fees. So so if you figure $30 a month for 5 years, if something would have broken down, you could have just paid for it. Put $30 a month into your own bank account. Right. And then it breaks down, you pay for it. And if it doesn't, you get to keep the money. But it's gamble. Like, I honestly look at warranties like that as a gamble where the dealership is the house. They know the odds are in their favor. If you buy it, you're a sucker.
Did you see somebody commented and said aggressive Mike? Well, I mean, I think we're seeing more of Mike these days.
This is my real personality. I don't really hold back. I've got opinions.
That is true. He does. So, but going back, it was kind of cool because they didn't even try. Like, I remember the guy was like, "Hey, do you want this alarm?" And I go, "You know what I do for a living, right? Like, I make deals all the time." He goes, "Yeah, okay, yeah, sorry. Hey, how about half price?" And I'm like, "No." Like, I flat out just said no. And then he goes, "What would it take for you to buy this?" I'm like, "Nothing. I will not buy that. I know people and I can get an alarm anywhere else."
Yep.
And here's the irony. I'm driving home in my car and my anti-theft light is blinking because I have an anti-theft device on my car already. Right? So again, I guess this isn't a car buying episode, but it's just funny. So the random story in all of this was that I got to share the gospel of reselling.
You got a convert, a reselling convert. Welcome to the family if you're listening.
Yeah.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram.
Yeah. Hey, it gives a good break. Hey, if you haven't had a chance yet, if you've been watching our YouTube or listening to our podcast, but you're not on social, hey, follow us on Instagram. We also drop a lot of knowledge on our feed, except today we haven't dropped the feed yet because we've been recording. But on our feed, on our IG stories, there's just a lot. There's a great community of resellers. There's a lot of knowledge to be gained. We are Pure Hustle Podcast on IG, Pure Hustle Cast on Twitter. We are also on Facebook as Pure Hustle Podcast. And you can find us on Spotify and Anchor and YouTube. And on YouTube, like we talked about before, 1,000 subscribers. If you haven't had a chance, please subscribe to us. Sorry, they just paid. I know, I'm just rubbing it in. A button on Harley. Okay. So if you haven't subscribed yet to us on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button. And if, the episode is, still hit that like button and make sure to hit that, notification so you get notifications. If you haven't had a chance yet, also make sure to share us on YouTube. If you think this will help others, share us on the podcast. And last of all, thank you to all of you that have been donating to us, through the PayPal link at the bottom of this video. It's been helpful. So if you haven't had a chance and you just want to say thank you, know it's there for you. It's also on our link tree on our Instagram.
Yeah, help us keep the lights on and let's help keep Orlando's Diet Mountain Dew full.
Yeah, okay. Then we're never going to get there.
We will not have an episode if he does not have his Diet Mountain Dew.
Wow. Well, hey, we're going to be spending a lot of time in the studio today.
That's true.
So it's all good. Anyways, all right. So that leads us to our hustles of the week.
Hustle of the week.
Sound effect time? Okay, that's our sound effect. All right. So we had some cool hustles of the week. So hey, why don't you start us off here?
Cool. So we've got Tristan, whose Instagram handle is at TRI to TIM. So try to Tim at try to Tim. So he went to a Goodwill with his mom and just said, grab whatever looks new, right? So they were just like, let's see what's new. Let's grab it. And the manager of the store eventually pulled out 2 new bins. So we've talked about in the past, like if you can be out there when a bin comes out, it's good because people haven't had a chance to look through stuff yet. So they start looking through these bins. Mom calls them over and they start scanning stuff, looking for, if there's anything they could sell on FBA. They found an item, unfortunately, gated, restricted, can't sell it on FBA, right? But like we've talked about before, they realized eBay, right? There are not gates and restrictions in the same way on eBay. So if you can't sell it on Amazon FBA, eBay is still a good outlet. So they decided to sell, pick it up, sell it on eBay. It is a sealed Dragon Ball Z Dragon Box Volume 1. I'm geeking out right now. I love Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z is the first. Dragon Ball
and
Z,
Ryan Roots are like best friends. And
Dragon Ball Z was the first anime, that's not even like a hardcore extreme anime, but it's a good like gateway drug into the anime world,
Okay.
And I remember as like a little kid, I was watching them as they were coming out. Frieza Saga, right? Those of you guys who watch, you know what I'm talking about. And so he picks up this sealed Dragon Ball Z box, Volume 1, for $5.99. Sells with the best offer of $150.
That's fire.
That's amazing,
so awesome.
right? So that's a huge return on investment. Just to be honest, I would have sold it because my wife probably would have made me sell it. But that's one of those things that I probably would have taken my time listing just because I'd want to like hold it.
You would have become Orlando.
Yeah, I would try not to hoard it, but I would hold it and like cuddle it for a little bit.
And he and Tristan, I've been DMing him with him on the IG, and he's a new reseller, so that's awesome to start.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That feels good. I mean, I needed that. Like I had those cycling shoes when I first started. It was a $4 buy that I sold for well over hundreds, like 120, 150, somewhere around there. And yeah, that's good motivation, right? That keeps you going. Yeah. And you'll keep getting those sales. Like if you keep out there hustling, you're going to have those bread and butter items where you're making $10 to $30 every single sale. And then these sales come along and it feels good. Feels good.
That is not, that is a sale and a half. All right. I got another sale and a half. So
let's hear it.
So Kyle, okay, now we've already had a hustle of the week from him, like back in the day, like episode 3 or 4 or something like that.
Welcome back, Kyle.
Yeah, it's only been 6 months, but I had to. This is our first double hustle of the week. I mean, this is crazy. So he is Kyle, and his handle is the Rydell on IG. So TheRideyl. Give him a follow. And he found these 2 items. Nothing special about it. I mean, he's special, but nothing special about it. He just pulls out his phone, goes to hard goods, right, and just starts researching. So he comes across his first one was a $9.99 find at Goodwill. And it's a set of San Francisco Giants bobbleheads from 2002. But they're not like even baseball players. Now, these people were baseball players. Mike Krukow, I think I'm saying this wrong, and Dwayne Culper. They did play baseball, but basically they are TV commentators. It's a bobblehead set of TV commentators. And it was used, and he sold it for $175.
Oh.
This is same day, by the way, his hustle of the week. This is like within hours. Okay. So I seriously see bobbleheads every once in a while. I'll research, but most of the time I just walk past them.
Yeah.
Right. Because usually they look chintzy but something caught his eye. But this is, to me, I don't know. We're going to have a hustle of the year award, I think, this year. We're going to have several contenders and do a hustle of the year. I think we should do that.
Yeah, that's a good one. So
again, he finds an item for $2.99. Okay. What he finds is this 2018, by the way, not even vintage, business mentor Android collectible figure. So it's like this little Android guy, you know, like the Android, like little robot thing. And it says like 2018 business mentor or something like that. And he sold it on eBay for not 100, not 200, not 300, $375.
That's a mic drop moment right there.
Seriously, like pick up this mic now. Just drop it.
It's pretty good. That's amazing. So
one day, two sales like that one day.
And that's why you got to be at a thrift store every day.
I'm telling you, and researching. And, you know, my issue as a, you know, I've been reselling for a little while is that I try to go really fast. But stories like this tell me to slow down. Because I would have looked at that. I don't even know if I would have researched. I mean, literally, if you look it up on eBay, like it's just a small box. It's not a big deal. Like, and it looks chintzy. Like, and it says 2018. So I wouldn't have even thought it was vintage. Right. But he took the time and he scored.
Collectibles, man. That's one of the things too, is it's hard to tell like what's a unique collectible and what's a mass marketed product that doesn't sell, right? And until you've just got a lot of experience seeing certain things or scanning things, you'll just never know.
Yeah, I looked at that and I was like, wow, that is incredible.
It's incredible.
All right. You got another one here. This is even more incredible. Now, this one to me is a little shocking. I knew about this, but it's been a while since I heard about this.
Yeah, this is good. So our next one comes from at just 10 pack. So at JUS 10PACK, just 10 pack. Is that like some people have 6-pack? Some people have an 8-pack.
I don't know.
This guy's just 10-pack. Like that'd be legit. So picked up a new and sealed Scrubbing Bubbles automatic shower cleaner kit with refills. I remember those commercials, right?
Yeah.
It was like, so it goes in the shower and then it sprays.
When's the last time you saw one of those?
One of those commercials?
No, one of those items.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Probably. I don't even know if I've ever actually seen one in a store, but I definitely know those commercials are old. I've never seen.
Yeah, I wish I picked one up. Anyways, that kind of leads into our hustle of the week.
He buys the kit and the refills for $3.99 at a Goodwill. Sells this kit.
No, it hasn't sold it yet.
Okay, but they sell for around, so the comps are going for about $130 on eBay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a thing.
And that's the reason we threw it on this as Hustle of the Week. Like, again, all these Hustle of the Week. Now, the Dragon Ball Z, I think that would have been, I would have researched that. Because Dragon Ball Z is pretty popular right now, right? Am I?
Yeah. They came out with Dragon Ball Super, which has just recently been, I think, English dubbed. So,
okay.
It's bringing a new generation of kids to watch Dragon Ball Z, and kind of like we had an interview the other day with another reseller, and we were talking about this idea that parents now are introducing their children, their teenagers, to the things they were interested in when they were teenagers.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking like for me and people who are a little bit older than me who love Dragon Ball Z and that was their childhood are now having kids that are, you know, preteens and teens that they're saying like, hey, watch this show that I loved so much as a kid. So it's creating a new excitement. I think Pokemon was kind of the same way.
Oh, I agree. Okay.
They released the right time when it's like, now it's our fans' kids that are the right age.
Huh. Well, the reason I say that is because if you look at the last, 3 items that are Hustle of the Week, I think they're items that I would have walked past. I mean, think about it. Like, you look at Scrubbing Bubbles, like, it's a common staple. Like, see at the thrift store, it's not like I'm going and I'm buying Swiffer wipes.
Was that a rare?
Or what mops?
Was it like a just a limited run that they did and it didn't work out?
You can't find them.
Is it because it was a flop? Like, why are people buying them?
I don't know.
Because if there's a market for it, you would think Scrubbing Bubbles would get on that.
Yeah. And they probably would sell it for more than they did originally, right? I mean, think about it.
But it's scarcity,
hopefully
right?
They're not listening.
Well, but I mean, if they made more of them, they wouldn't be worth that much. Like scarcity drives prices. So
true. And I have heard about these selling. Like it's been a little while since the last time I heard about these. But when I saw this and they're a Hustle of the Week. By the way, if you haven't had a chance, if you have Hustle of the Week, on Instagram, use a hashtag Hustle of the Week, all lowercase, because we look there for the Hustle of the Week, and that's where we found this one. And so I don't know. I was super impressed with that because I'm like, wow, like these are all items I would have passed, easily. I mean, Mike might have looked it up because Mike does like looking at obscure things,
weird stuff, yeah,
and weird stuff. So, hey, all of you. Thank you so much, Tristan. Again, follow these individuals, Tristan, Kyle, and Just 10 Pack. So IG handles for Tristan is at Try2Tim, TRI number two, TIM. Kyle is IG handle The Rydell, THERIDEYL. And you have Just 10 Pack, JUS10PACK. Give them a follow. Thank you guys for sharing your hustle of the week. And now it's time for Mike to share.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually finally have one. And it's not even great. It's not definitely as great as our listeners. But that same day that I went to the thrift store and failed when they wouldn't sell me the Harley button down, I went to another thrift store, actually went to 2 more after that, and picked up some shoes, picked up some other stuff. And as I was getting ready to leave, because it was getting close to lunchtime, wanted to get home, I find a board game and I'm like, sweet. And the board game, the comps aren't going for great, but it's one that it was unique. And I was like, I'd like to keep this for my own collection. And if I sell it, I could probably make like $15, $20 off it. And underneath the board game, like kind of behind it and then back a little bit, was this other little box. And it's like I guess it would be Disney, because like, isn't Alice in Wonderland, like, doesn't Disney own Alice in Wonderland? So it's like a Disney, or it didn't say Disney on it, but it was like Alice in Wonderland tea set story time thing. And it was like porcelain. It came with 2 cups, 2 little things. And they were asking for $7.99 for it. And I looked up comps and they're going for like $60 on eBay.
Really?
Yeah. So it felt good to say, like, I get this game that either maybe I make $10 on, or I just keep it and I play. Yeah. And here's an item that I'm going to make $50 on. All right, that made today's trip worth it.
I love it. And you have something new, right?
Yep.
Like something more in your bolo, like your subconscious bolo list to keep an eye
to look for. Yep.
Nice. All right, so I wanted to give an update for my bolo. Not my bolo. Sorry, we're gonna get to bolos. By the way, we're gonna get back to current topics. Yeah. We're throwing everybody off today.
That's how we roll.
So my hustle of the week, it's, I've had a few hustles of the week, but I did want to share just an update on the Department 56 items, because what I'm finding is, a lot of people say, like, when should I list something?
I just actually sold a Department 56.
Okay, so that's why I wanted to talk about that, because it was my hustle of the week. I want to say back in October or something like that. But I got to tell you, I have sold probably out of the 20 plus pieces. So I had a major haul back in, I forget what podcast, but sometime in October. I paid $160 and I think I got 20 to 30 pieces of Department 56, right? And I've made far more than I paid. I'm probably, close to $1,000 now in my return. And I just keep selling Department 56 over and over. Like, I don't think there's been a single week since Christmas ended that I have not sold Department 56.
That's weird. Yeah, I just sold one.
Right? And what was it?
It was like a weird, like, Santa workshop. Like, it's a Santa, like, holding something and like a kid on his lap.
Okay.
There's a figurine.
And was it good? Did you make good ROI?
Yeah, I think I bought it for like $2 and it sold for like $40. So.
Okay. So I just was, and the same thing here. Like, and what happened too was I noticed a lot of people, I don't know why, but they had lower prices. And I knew the inherent value in these items. So I just listed my stuff high and it sold before the other ones. And so I want to let you guys know, like, just because it's not Christmas doesn't mean that your Christmas items are not going to sell.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We're in February, right? Okay, now I'll get to my hustle of the week. So my hustle of the week is one of those, I'm kind of a little proud. I'm proud of this hustle of the week. Not like an arrogant proud, but like I feel good about it. So it's not a huge, like, our hustle of the week from our listeners, but I saw a thermostat. And I know that thermostats, for whatever reason, that are sealed, sell for money. And it was a Honeywell thermostat, and it wasn't like one of the, you have those Bluetooth technology Wi-Fi ones now. It was an older one, but I know that people are trying to always replace things in their house, and maybe they want the same one. So I was at the Goodwill, and I don't know, they charged $9.99 for an older thermostat that was sealed. So I picked it up. I'm like, you know what? This is going to sell for money. And I looked up comps, and a new one had not sold probably, I don't know, in 2 months, and it only sold for $25. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to list this for $80. right? Because I know that this, there isn't much to go around. The completeds, there hasn't been one that has sold in a while, but no one really is listing any new ones. Sure enough, within less than a week, I sold it. It was on a sale, and it sold for $67. And I was happy about the hustle of the week because, one of the things that I love about reselling for a while is you establish kind of like this knowledge bank about, hey, even though I can't find comps, I still know that there's value in this, and you listen. I've been doing a lot of that lately. So I'm kind of a little concerned because I do probably need to research some items because, we always preach like research. But, some of those things that after you've been reselling for a while, you don't have to research because you know that there will be buyers for that item. So that was a good hustle of the week.
That's good.
All right. So, hey, if you have any hustles of the week, hey, make sure to let us know. You can also call us with your hustle of the week, 619-738-1170. That's 619-738-1170. Shoot us an email, purehustlepodcast@gmail.com, and let us know, and you'll be a contender for hustle of the week. And also, use that hashtag.
Yeah. And maybe my favorite way is post it in your feed and tag us in it. Because we like to just be able to see that and then shout that out on our Instagram. So yeah, tag us, tag some of your friends who might be either also fellow resellers, right? That are going to appreciate what you're doing, or maybe some skeptics, some people who don't, tag those people in your life that are like, you do what? And then show them your hustle of the week.
Get all gangster and I'm like, here's my hustle.
Sinbad on them. Boom.
Sinbad on them.
So you can get Baned or you can get Sinbad.
There you go.
Drop the money on them.
All right. That's a new term. We're going to call it Baned and Sinbad.
You just got Sinbad.
All right. We're going to have our own like Pure Hustle podcast lexicon, right? Of our own terms.
It'll be a Pure Hustle, like Urban Dictionary.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to go Urban Dictionary because that one, man, you can go, it goes crazy.
Yeah, people are crazy on that. That's for sure. But I tell you what, I sometimes have to use it to figure out what kids are talking about.
That is true. I remember when I was an administrator, like there would be all these hidden messages, right? And I didn't know unless you went to Urban Dictionary.
You gotta look it up. You gotta know what it means, man.
So if you're a parent out there and your kids are saying some things and you're interested, now, just, not sufficient for work. Let's put it that way.
What?
It's not sufficient for work or at all.
Yeah, you maybe be careful. Well, I mean, there probably is going to be some stuff on there that you don't want little eyes to see, for sure.
Yeah, I get that. All right. We got to keep it pure hustle.
That's right.
All right. So, let's talk about some topics here now that we're all out of order. All right. Hey, more sellers I heard are getting sent offers.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talking about that.
So if you don't know what we're talking about, eBay back in the summer, not through any kind of official announcement at all, but through influencers, announced that there's going to be a send offer option on eBay, kind of like there is on Poshmark, where, if you have 3 or more watchers, I believe, you can send offers to those watchers. Now, the reason I bring this up is on IG, we had posted the hack. So you can do it by hacking with a certain, using a certain URL. You can either get to a page where it gives you all your items that you can send offers on, or you can put an item number next to a certain URL, and then on that item specifically, you can send offers. So it was crazy because on IG, we had all kinds of people requesting for that info. So, and a lot of you that are new resellers, maybe you've never even heard of this, but we're getting closer here.
Yeah, it'll be nice when it's not just like some people, but it's just standard. Like,
but I will tell you, I've done it, and I haven't had a lot of success from the hack. Now, maybe because it's not working. Maybe we all feel that.
You think it's working and it's not? Because you're using a URL that's like not actually active, but
yeah, maybe you get that feeling that it's happening, but it's not. But I did have a lot of people on IG say, "Hey, Orlando, like within hours of sending those offers, people bought my stuff." Huh. So maybe it is happening.
There you go.
So I don't know. So that was a quick one. Now, go ahead.
Well, I wasn't really going to say anything, but I was thinking. We've talked before that sometimes watchers are just like fellow resellers, like hawking your items. That might actually help reduce that too. Like if you're constantly, like if you're watching a bunch of items to see what things, and you're always getting offers from people, you might be like, I'm not following this stuff anymore.
Could be, maybe it'll work.
It'll help even out the playing field.
But I do have that philosophy with the send offers. I think it's going to be different on eBay than on Posh. I think on eBay, a lot of people, like for instance, for us, have you noticed a lot more watchers in our items? Well, maybe you haven't because you've been new to reselling for the last 6 months.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't I don't actually look at that anymore.
Okay.
You've convinced me not to look at that.
No, it's not. It really isn't. I don't think there's a point. But I've noticed in my store ever since we started doing the podcast that I have a lot more people watching my items, right? And you know what that now it does negatively affect things in my store because my sell-through rate isn't as great. And so if you get a lot of views, you get watchers, and your stuff isn't selling. From what I've heard, it negatively affects you and your, in the algorithm. But again, I do think, and maybe some of you are doing this, a lot of you see, our hustle of the week or something we pick up on IG that we post, and you're just watching it because you're interested. Hey, will it sell for, the price that Orlando has it at, or will it not? Or is it something I should keep an eye for? So I think it's going to be, I think it'll be a game changer, but I don't know if it's going to get the same results as Posh. That's just my own opinion on it. So we'll see.
We'll never know until it happens.
All right, so I thought this was interesting. I'm always impressed when reselling makes it, I guess, mainstream. So I don't know if you saw this, but the Washington Times just did a news story about retail arbitrage on Amazon, about Amazon FBA. And they talked about Reezy Resells, who's a big, who's a big RA guy. He does a lot of books, and if you haven't followed him on Instagram, he has a huge following. He has thousands of subscribers. I mean, he's growing huge on YouTube. The Bearded Picker had that Monopoly for Millennials video that went viral. There's another guy, Rise and Grind Picker. There's a few others. They may have mentioned the story, but this story in the Washington Times, like, seriously goes A to Z on FBA.
Wow.
And there's kind of two ways to look at it,
More competition.
Okay, you automatically went there. Like, I saw this and I go, wow, this is definitely going to open up, the gates. And you know what? Congratulations to all of you that end up in this article. Like, seriously, Reezy and Rise and Grind Picker and Bearded Picker and all of you that were in this article, like, props to you. Like, it's so awesome that, Washington Times took, the time, no pun intended, to shine the spotlight on your accomplishments and how far you've come. I mean, that is pretty awesome. But yes, one of the things I did think about was, like, this is definitely, going to increase, right? Because, the news story, right, in order to sell the news story is going to show all the highlights, right? Yep. Like, this is how much money they made.
Yep. It's the social media glamour only aspect of reselling.
Yeah, now they do get into the details of it. I mean, they talk about, like, how much work and how many stores they visit and where they started and where they stopped and all those things. And, but it does, I'm looking at the pictures. It shows them with their families, and, it's kind of like, hey, this will give you the life you want, kind of deal, right? So it's great as far as highlighting all the good things about reselling. So I say that because I think it's going to give us a lot more competition because people are going to go, like, I need to do this, right?
I just know that most of that competition won't stick around.
Okay, see, and then you get to the other side of it, right? And why do you say that?
Because it's work. It's a lot of hard work. It's tough. It's one of those things where it's glamorous and it might be exciting for a little while until people realize, like, there's an element of self-discipline that I have to be able to be okay with, waking up, going out, doing stuff when I'm tired and I don't want to, and there's other things I could be doing, and a more guaranteed source of income. And not that there's anything wrong with looking for a different lifestyle, but I think it's easy to see only the positives of something and to try it and to realize, like, hey, this is harder than I thought it was, and it's not for me. And so I think one of the great things about all of our listeners is people who take the time to listen and learn and research and grow. Those are the people who are going to make it, right? I don't look at them as competition. I look at them as, like, as the real hustlers out there with me. And yeah, maybe to an extent they are actual competition, but the influx of, like, new competition, I feel like those are just waves of, like, they'll stick around for a few weeks and they're going to drop off.
No, I agree. Well, it's kind of, and I'm going to bring up Gary Vee, right? I think Gary Vee is an boy. No, it's my boy. Hey, aren't you supposed to be, like, right here, like, for the mic?
Yeah, but You're talking about Gary Vee. So.
Okay, all right. So Mike always gives me a hard time, so I thought I'd give a little pushback.
Yeah, it'd be great if Orlando would sit. Maybe you guys can let him know. It'd be better if he sat like this towards the mic and actually talk to it.
Maybe I need one of those coming from the ceiling.
It wouldn't help because it would still be away from your mouth, and you would.
That's true.
Pull back here like this and talk.
Okay, all right. So Gary Vee had those trash talk episodes, and when was that? Was that like October, November, right? Yep. And he was going to garage sales like 2 or 3 Saturdays, but. Now Gary Vee is a multimillionaire, so obviously he wasn't going to keep that up. But again, like there hasn't been a trash talk video in months, right? Because it's all a hustle. Like getting out there takes time. Now, Gary Vee obviously isn't out there just because it's too much work. It's because he has a bunch of other things going on. But we all have a lot of things going on, right? And so I do think, I look at the title, right? The title is called Flesh and Blood Robots for Amazon. They raid clearance aisles and resell it all online for a profit. Now, right away, there's a flaw in that title. Because if you all know, if you raid the clearance aisles, you don't always sell it online for a profit.
No.
Right? Clearance aisles is where you tank a lot.
Yep.
Right? You lose money on. So, I do think it's going to create another influx. I don't know how big it's going to create an influx. I think Amazon FBA is like the cool thing right now. It's like the gangster thing. Like, I'm a scale. I'm gonna get my Lambo and my Ferrari and and all that. But I think it's gonna take some time. Like for eventually people are gonna go like, yeah, it is work. There's no Amazon FBA. Maybe you do private label. Maybe it's a little bit of passive, but it is a grind. So, anyways, I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome in the sense that it's again validating what we do. As something that's valid.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So, all right. So, hey, props to all of you that ended up on the article. So awesome. Read about your successes and the way you've just been able to just level up your standard of living. So it's good stuff. All right. I wanted to talk. So this isn't like a current topic. It's not in the news, but I had a great conversation with on IG with Thrift to Freedom. Okay. So IG handle. So Thrift to Freedom, he's been reselling for years. I want to say it's been 8 years that he's been reselling. And, I put on an IG story at one point about like, do you track your selling? Like I need to make this amount of money every day or every week or every month, right? Do you do that at all?
I'm not yet, but I do have a number that I'm wanting to get to, by the end of the year as far as how much I want each month.
Okay. So his name is Robbie. Okay, his IG handle is Thrift to Freedom. So that's the word thrift, and then the number 2, and then freedom. And he's been reselling for about 8 years. Give him a follow. Like his IG stories crack me up because he has like this Ring camera, and his post guy like is taking out garbage bags and stuff that he sold, and it's just great to watch. But he saw this IG story, and he goes, I don't try. He goes, I don't. He actually said, I don't. I don't have a weekly or a daily sales goal because it's a moving target. But I have a listing daily and weekly goal.
That's good. I mean, that shows you can only have a goal for what's in your power, right? And listing is within your power and sales aren't. And I think when you look at a macro level, you can have like a yearly goal that makes more sense, but daily, it's too much fluctuation. But what you can control is what you list.
And I know I've been reselling for years, but I got to tell you, like that resonated with me because, now it's full time. I'm always like, I got to make this amount, be able to pay bills and do this and that. But then this, I was like, this is powerful. Now, maybe a lot of you that have been reselling for a long time already knew this. And I kind of knew this. I knew that you constantly have to be listing, but I never thought about, hey, not stressing about the daily or the weekly goal, but more about, hey, making sure I meet my listing goals. So it was very inspiring. So if you haven't had a chance, follow Thrift to Freedom on IG. He's been reselling for a while. He understands the game. He has some awesome IG stories about, the other one was, did you know that dry erase markers, like if you have a permanent marker on an item, I've tried it with shoes, it doesn't work with shoes, but like on a metal item or something, if you put dry erase over it and then you wipe it down after, it takes away the permanent marker too. Did you know that? That was new to me. I didn't know that. I mean, I've seen other people do it. Like I've done it on TI calculators, but it works on other surfaces. Wow. So not saying it's 100%, but try it out.
Give it a shot. Yeah.
Give it a shot. So, all right. So that's our topic. So, wow. So, hey, send offers, Washington Times. It's pretty all over the place. Now, I know everybody wants to know the BOLOs of the week.
Bolo.
You should just record yourself saying BOLO.
And then like repeat it like bolo, 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 bolo.
Okay. So, I'll share with you my BOLO of the week. So, BOLO of the week. This should be BOLO of the 2 weeks because we always do these every 2 weeks. What do we call it? BOLO of the week. It just sounds better.
Just bolo. Our bolo.
Our BOLO. Okay. And this is going to be, again, I keep saying this, but the right kinds of Vans and Converse shoes. So let me give you some context. Because you're like,
back with the vague stuff.
No,
here's my BOLO. Profitable items.
No, we're not going. I just want to help people because if I get too specific, you may overlook something. So I'll give you some examples here. So there's two ways to look at it. One is vintage, right? So if anything says made in the USA, if it's a Vans or a Converse shoe, pick it up, right? Because that means it's probably vintage. I mean, do your research. But for example, at Goodwill, I bought 3 sets of Vans shoes. I want to say it was like 2 years ago. Did I share this already?
I don't think so.
Okay. So 3 pairs of Vans shoes, and they had the box with them, and they all said made in the USA. I bought each of them for $12.99. First pair sold for $340. Second pair, I think I sold for like 200 something, and the third pair I still haven't sold. But man, I never even would have thought of that. I saw it somewhere else, so it wasn't like I figured this out on my own. Like somebody had said, keep an eye for made in the USA shoes. So I'm sharing it with you guys again. And the same thing with Converse. Like if you find, some Parcel, it says Parcel on it and it says made in the USA, like it could be money. I've also sold newer Van shoes that were like limited edition, like a certain event Van shoes were made for. And I've sold them. So there was one that was like, there was a surfing event in Hawaii and it had that event like in the insole. And I bought the shoes for 10 and I sold them for 150. Right. Or there's collabs, right? Collabs always help. So I know Sell Quick, Ship Quick, they had just shared, they sold a pair of Dr. Seuss Vans for, I want to say it was like close to $70 that they picked up for like $10. I sold a pair of Jungle Book Vans that were like dirty and not great. I picked them up for like, I think $4 and I sold them for $50.
And I picked up, it's interesting, it was either Superman or Spider-Man Vans. And at that same thrift store were like 3 other superhero Vans. And I was looking at the comps at all 3 and only one of the ones with the, Spider-Man or Superman was actually worth money. So even then you have to do your research. You got to do your
research still. But it's just one of those that, even if they're dirty, like still research it because, due to the value. So, here's another one. One was like all the female villains from Disney movies. So like Ursula and I don't know what the one in Snow White is called, but all of those characters, Cruella de Vil and so on. Like a pair of those Vans I sold. I want to say it was, or maybe I didn't sell it. Maybe it's still listed. I can't remember. But I looked at comps and I picked up for $5 and they're selling for like 60 to 70. Wow. Some are selling for like 100. So just something to keep an eye out for. Wow. That's our BOLO. So what do you got?
What do I got? I've been learning a lot about female jeans.
Okay.
So I
find that's a tough one for me.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not something I feel like I'm definitely not an expert in. But it was interesting when I married my wife, one of the first things she said was, I don't spend a ton of money on makeup. I don't spend a lot of money on jewelry, but I buy nice clothes. Right. Like I buy name brand clothes. And so
at least she was up front.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I knew that going in because that was not something like I was very much like, I'll get my clothes at like the little like store that you drive by and it's like, hey, they got shirts for $5, nothing over $4.99. Right. And like, that's where I'll like buy my shirts and shorts.
Signs of a reseller.
Yeah. Well,
kind of like our upcoming podcast.
So I always bought super cheap and over time I've learned like, okay, there's definitely a big difference in quality of certain clothes. But, so I knew when I started selling a few brands, right? Like there were some brands that she wore. She wore Hudson jeans. She would wear 7 for All Mankind jeans. She would wear Miss Me jeans. And so when I would see these, like I'd pick them up and I've learned even more about them. Like, I I would pick up, so 7 for All Mankind do pretty well for us. We sold quite a few of those. And I was at a thrift store and I'm like, oh, here's some 7 jeans, because people a lot of times just call them 7 jeans. And I pick them up and I bring them home and she goes, oh, those are 7 jeans. And I was like, yeah, it's good, right? Like I got them. And she's like, no. Those aren't 7 for All Mankind. Those are 7. That's like a knockoff, like a Walmart brand.
So you're all like,
I was
proud.
super stoked, like that I got some 7 jeans, and it was like, nope, those are so 7 for All Mankind. And then the one that has been doing really well for us is Miss Me, specifically. So my bolo is going to be Miss Me jeans with all of the rhinestones intact. So like Miss Me jeans oftentimes have like rhinestones like on the back pockets, and different designs, maybe sometimes on the front pockets. And I find them often at thrift stores or garage sales, and there's like big chunks of the rhinestones that are missing that have come off.
Will people still buy with the rhinestone missing?
They will. You have to disclose it all, and depending on if there's a few missing, yeah, but it's really easy to just see that tag and be like, oh, sweet. And the pants might look good, but there might be like a whole little like quarter size section of rhinestones that are missing, and that decreases the value quite a bit. So if you can find one that's got all of the rhinestones intact, pick those up. They're worth it.
Okay. Miss Me. And I knew about Miss Me jeans, but I just didn't know all that. So
yeah. Check the rhinestones.
Check the rhinestones.
Yeah.
That's, and again, we're hoping with the bolos, like if you ever have anything you come across as part of your Hustle of the Week bolo, always share with us.
Yeah, let us know.
So, wow. And again, there's so much out there, so you always got to make sure you're researching.
Got to be learning.
All right, I think we are done with this episode.
Well, what are you looking forward to?
Oh, wait. See, I'm so thrown off. Like I was ready to go, be real, reselling.
And let's be ready for next week. So
okay.
What are you going to be ready for?
I am meeting with my tax preparer next week.
I feel like you've been talking about your tax preparer for a long time.
I know, but I finally decided that it was time. And
you're going to eat that frog?
I'm going to eat that frog because I need to know how much I got to pay the big frog. Because, that's the part I just, I got to tell you, I really have a hard time.
Did you just refer to the IRS as the big frog?
They are the big frog. Like, I don't know. I go back to the days of imagine what it was like before income tax, before the 1900s. You know what I mean? Plumbing or electricity. No, there was plenty of that, but there was but this income tax where it's like, hey, if you reach a certain level, you got to pay more and so on. That's rough. I mean,
there's definitely a punishment for working hard at a certain level, right?
Yeah, I just struggle with that because again, I'd rather put that money to good use, and anyways, we can get into the whole taxes and all that, but anyways, I'm not going to go down that road, but it just hurts. And so I wanted to kind of eat that frog and take that blow and go, let's see how hard I have to work in February and March to be able to pay that by April 15 and go with it. And maybe I'm good and I won't have to work do any extra work to make more profit.
I mean, yeah, because maybe you're stressing out about it and you'll come to find out that you don't really owe as much as you think you do. Or?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing and this is what I tell you, if you are part-time or you're new to reselling, what you have to understand is you should always keep records of everything. And I know I say that, but what happens with tax time, you got to start early. And the reason I say you got to start early is because your CPA, whoever you use will say, hey, I need you to find out information on this. I need you to find out information on this. Check out this deductible. Because if you go to them in April, you're going to start running out of time.
Right. It's not like you sit down with them one day, you're done.
100%. No, it's not at all. In my experience and with other resellers, and there's some resellers that are really good about bookkeeping and it is at one time, but there's others that, need to be told hey, you're going to end up paying a lot more because I need this information. So you have to go back, get that information, and it might be a multi-step process.
Ugh, that sounds terrible.
So, and maybe it's just because I'm not as organized as Mike, but
I'm not as organized as I like to pretend to be.
Yeah.
I let things slip and you fall a week behind and then a week turns into 2 weeks and then next thing you know, it's a nightmare trying to get caught up. But I've got the right intentions.
Okay. So I guess I would say that's what I'm looking forward to.
Nice. I like that.
How about you?
I had something. Ooh, here it is. This is not resale related and it's also resale related.
So it is.
Kind of.
Okay.
I'm planning on going to Disneyland tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah, and so it's not resale related in the sense that I'm not going to be doing any reselling while I'm there, even though there are like, you know, people who do that. I think Disneyland.
Oh, you mean like
really
buy products and resell? Yeah. Okay.
I'm not promising I won't. I don't know. Maybe I'll find something there. But I get to do stuff like that. Like, I mean, I've never not been able to like take my family to Disneyland a couple times a year if I've wanted to, but being able to do it with a certain amount of just like freedom, right? Of knowing like, yeah, we're doing it. We're going to eat whatever we want to eat while we're there. We're going to go crazy. And I'm not going to stress out about money because I work really hard and this reselling thing is paying off. And it allows me to do trips like this, even though I'm pouring 95% of the income I'm getting from reselling back into more capital and reselling. Occasionally, you know, you got to treat yourself for doing well. One thing I heard a person say that was really good is treat yourself like you're your own, like you're the employee. And so you're also the boss. Like, so if you worked under somebody, how would you want your boss to treat you? And so you got to treat yourself that way. And so occasionally that's a day off, or here's a little bonus. You're a good worker. I'm going to reward you. And so if you're your own boss, you need to treat yourself like an employee should be treated. And sometimes that's with, you know, rewarding yourself for hard work. Yeah.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
That is awesome. And that's one of the things we want to tell you guys, like, one of the reasons, well, the main reason we do this podcast is to help you level up your standard of living. That doesn't necessarily mean full time. That means being able to go to Disneyland like Mike's doing. Like, I've been there. Like, I remember the first time I bought season passes to Disneyland from reselling money and going, wow, this is actually working out. Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited for it. It might rain, so
it's even better.
bummer.
No, that's better. You'll be able, the lines are a lot fast. Listen, the best time to go to Disneyland is when it's raining.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm serious.
Rain, though. I cannot stand the rain.
Trust me, you're going to go on so many rides and the lines are going to be so short. You're going to be thanking the next time you go.
I'm not really like just like a ride person. Like if I want rides, I'm going to Six Flags.
I know, but you know, your son's going to want to go on the rides and enjoy them.
But I also want to be able to like walk him around and like let him do stuff and in and out of a car seat that's covered with rain ponchos and it sounds terrible, but it's going to be fun. Let me tell you this. It's never
going to be debt free.
It's going to be, debt free. It's going to be free in the sense of like, I have emotional freedom because I'm not worried about the money because reselling. And then, you know, man, being a dad has totally changed the way I look at Disneyland. That's for sure.
Okay.
It's really cool to be able to go and to see my son excited about things. Like I geek out now about characters that I never did before. It's like, oh my gosh, it's Mickey Mouse. Like, look, Mickey Mouse. I'm
telling you, Disneyland is the place where no matter what you've done in your life or who you are, you always feel good at Disneyland.
Never really did before I was a parent. Like, it was just like, meh, whatever.
But now it's a game.
Now,
I totally get it. All right. Hey, with all that being said, thanks for following us. Thanks for listening to us. Make sure you're being real.
Be relevant.
And be reselling. Ladies.